The Cincinnati Reds are in for one heck of a vibe test as here come the Milwaukee Brewers that they just don't lose.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. My name is Jeff Carr, and I'm a lifelong Cincinnati Reds fan, just like I'm sure you are as well. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team, your Cincinnati Reds, every single day. And as I've been doing this podcast for 7 seasons now, man, the vibes are high. But here come the Milwaukee Brewers, and they know how to kill vibes. And quite frankly, they're amazing right now in the year of our Lord 2025. We're going to break down this matchup and what the Reds need to do to get a win out of this series. And quite frankly, our expectations for this series are a little bit different than what we have seen here recently. We'll get into all of that here and a little bit more replay from the Q&A session on the live show on Thursday. By the way, if you're ever able to catch a live show for Locked On Reds, we encourage you to jump into our comments section. Appreciate everybody that does. But that's all coming up on today's Locked On Reds podcast that is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Go to 5hourenergy.com today and use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. Only valid through September 30th. Order transfusion-flavored 5 Hour Energy shots today. Because when it comes to the vibes right now, the vibes are immaculate. Hope is back. There's casual Reds fans that sometimes throughout the season hit me up and are just like, the Reds are done. All of those guys are singing their praises again, and they're saying, like, okay, we're looking at the playoffs now. Here comes the buzzsaw that is the Milwaukee Brewers. They are on a 12-game winning streak, Steve. This is the second, not one winning streak. This is the second winning streak this year for the Brewers of 11 or more games. This team is like the best at everything. They have the best record in the league. And I'm not saying the National League, I'm saying the major leagues. They have some of the best pitching in the league, some of the best hitting in the league. According to the Baseball Savant stat, base running runs, they are the number one base running team in the league. And as much as I want to sit here and say that the momentum of the Reds is such that they will stop this, I'm concerned because we are coming into a weekend now where the city of Cincinnati has now opened its heart to this team. And the Milwaukee Brewers have a penchant for shoving a knife in that heart. And there's a really big chance that they could do that this week. Honestly, Steve, and I want everybody to be aware of this, and I want everybody to be ready for this. Win one game in this series, and let's move on. That's what I want.
Let's take that a little bit further because you're talking about expectation setting right now. And you just set it up. The Brewers have won 12 games in a row. The Brewers always take it to the Reds. They always kind of dominate series. Do I expect the Reds to win this series? No, I don't. And I'm okay with that. The Brewers are very, very good right now. They're the best team in baseball good right now. They're 6 games better than the next 2 teams that are tied at 70 wins in the Tigers and the Blue Jays. The Brewers are good. There, I said it. There you go, Chuck. You listening, Chuck? You guys are good. You were right all along. You guys were going to be good. You're good. But here's what you got to do. Here's the thing. I want to come out of this series still being the only team in baseball that hasn't been swept. I want to break their winning streak, and I want them to do it in game 1. Steal game 1 and stop the streak. Natty Run is absolutely right. That is the formula. And then anything can happen after that. They lose the next 2. They win 1. They steal the series. Who knows? Win that first game. Go out there and break this 12-game winning streak and change the narrative just a little bit. And then I feel like you've got an opportunity, but preserve that the Reds are the only team that's never been swept this season and kind of have things to build on from there. That's how I think this needs to go, Jeff. Realistic expectation setting that the Reds probably aren't winning this series, but don't get swept. That is the key, and then move on from there.
I am curious, and I'm looking it up here because the Brewers have not announced their starter for Friday.
To be determined, correct.
He threw a bullpen session on Tuesday, and I wonder if that means that Jacob Misiorowski will pitch on Friday.
Light him up. Light him up.
It's going to be interesting. He's a guy that's in the same mold of Chase Burns. Like, he is expected to be the Brewers' ace for in perpetuity after this season. And he's going to be a guy that if the Reds face, there's going to be a lot of strikeouts in that game. And there were a lot of strikeouts against Christopher Sanchez. There were a lot of strikeouts against Ranger Suarez, but they still got it done. And I kind of wonder if that's who the Reds are facing right now, because they're not – they still haven't announced who's facing Nick Martinez for that game. We probably won't hear until Friday. But if that's the case, then the Reds get him. The Reds get Quinn Priester, who has been successfully fixed from being a Pirates prospect to being an also-ran to now being a guy that they picked up off the trash heap and fixed. And then they face Jose Quintana, who has faced the Reds no less than 345 times in his career. So dude is familiar with this team. This is going to be an interesting weekend, Steve. Like, the pitching matchups on paper, I think people are going to discount.
I do have an ask.
Don't do that.
I do have an ask for the Reds pitchers, and I'm being serious at this point. I've joked about it for a lot of years. I'm being serious. Christian Yelich should not see a single pitch over the plate. Not over the plate. If you don't want to walk him intentionally every time, cool. But if you throw a pitch over the plate to him, I don't even know what to tell you. Do not let Christian Yelich be the guy that beats you. Do not let Christian Yelich once again come up against the Cincinnati Reds and be that guy. Just take the bat out of his hands. Make somebody else beat you. For the love of God, stop pitching to Christian Yelich.
Yeah, and look, Andrew Vaughn, Isaac Collins, who I will continue to joke sounds more like a drink than a baseball player. All those guys have been playing really well, but I don't care. Make those guys beat you. Don't make Christian Yelich beat you.
This from our buddy Branch Brown. And I just a real fast aside, a story I've never told from Bristol, Jeff. I gave up in Bristol, in case anybody was wondering. I gave up in Bristol. Quick story. Branch saved us. We were stranded in the rain with no Ubers to be found. Branch Brown, hero extraordinaire for fighting back, coming back. Listen, guys, coming back to the track, the wrong direction, and saved
that
us.
Was
thanks, Branch Brown. I love
that. Will
you,
be a
Branch
memory.
Brown.
That will be a memory that I will not soon
So
forget.
this,
but no,
he's right. So this series, Jeff. What is your anyway, the radio broadcast for the Brewers said they agree with you. It'll be missed.
And then also Adam McCalvey from MLB.com also said that he's expected to return on Friday as well. So that's intriguing. But for this series, you just got to win one. Whatever the pitching's been doing, and we've got the right guys on the mound. I really like who the Reds have lined up in this series. Like, I feel like Nick Martinez has been pretty good here recently at missing the bat or missing the barrels, not missing the bats, but missing the barrels and looking pretty well. I think this will be Martinez's last start before he reverts to the bullpen, and then Chase Burns will make one more start 5 days from Friday, and then he'll move to the bullpen whenever Nick Lodolo returns. But like, looking at these three guys, this is going to be a really tough series on the pitching. And I'm super glad that Emilio Pagan got some reps in on Wednesday, because otherwise he would have gone like 5 days without pitching if he then pitched on Friday. And then Tony Santillan got some rest, and we saw some other guys get some rest that they much needed for this game. This is going to be the kind of series that I don't want people to lose their heads about if the Reds lose, because they're not expected to win. If they win this series, Steve, and we're in a playoff spot on Monday, boy, that's going to be a fun show, because we do have Chuck Freeman from Locked On Brewers going to join us to
give me the Reds rotation again through the series. It is Nick Martinez going on Friday.
Nick Martinez Friday, Zach Littell Saturday, and Andrew Abbott on Sunday.
And I want to talk a little bit more about what the Reds really have to do to beat the Brewers. What does that look like? What's the formula? We're going to talk about that coming up next.
Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape ginger lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off it. You just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF and receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion flavored 5-hour energy shots today.
All right, Jeff, I want to get into the beating of the Brewers because it's really not something any of us knows very much about because it just doesn't happen very much around here. Scott Campbell does bring up that this is an Apple TV game on Friday and was wondering about the Reds' record in national games. I don't know if that's something that's easily sortable for you, but if you can pull that out of the air somewhere, that would be great. Dave Pemberton also checking in, asking, is Burns being completely shut down? No, it sounds like Jeff Carr is getting his way, Dave. It sounds like they're going to put Chase Burns in the bullpen and try to keep him available through the rest of the season and possibly into a playoff run as a guy out of the pen, kind of limiting his innings a little bit more. We'll see exactly how that plays out in the coming weeks, but no, he's going to move to the bullpen once Nick Lodolo is back. That seems to be the plan. Were you able to find anything there, Jeff?
Nothing specific.
All right, Scott, we'll work on that, Scott. We'll see if we can get that for you. But the beating of the Brewers, Jeff, this is a fun thing to think about. Because it doesn't feel like it's ever happened in my lifetime. I know that's a little dramatic and it's not true, but it feels that way. But looking at what the Reds got to do, they do need their starting pitchers to just keep them in the hunt, keep it within being a one-run game, keep the Brewers lineup off balance. But I have this question for you, Jeff. What is the best way to get at these Brewers? Is it knock the starters out and get into the bullpen? Because it feels like their bullpen has been pretty good. Is it try to score, a big inning early on against the starter and just hope that the Reds pitching shuts the Brewers lineup down? Do they need a big early inning and hope it holds? Is there a way to get at this Brewers team consistently? And it would seemingly be the answer is no, because they're the best team in baseball. They've won 76 ball games and they've won 12 in a row. So it feels like there's not really any one good way to get at this Brewers team.
It's just going to be limiting. Like I kind of feel like the Reds cannot expect to win any of these ball games the way that they did against Philadelphia, where they're just going to score runs in bunches. They've got to shoot for 4 and keep the Brewers to 3, however it is that they do that. So there's going to have to be a little bit more strategy involved. And I think that we might see a little bit of the thing that we hate. There might be some bunting in this. There might be some running and hitting in this. And there might be a few more strategic baseball plays than we've seen in the past, because you're going to have to just play smart, error-free baseball. That's going to be another thing, is just keeping the mistakes almost perfectly out of view, and definitely to the minimum. But Brian Hayes needs to play every game here. He needs to play at third base every game. I know that they've been working in Santiago Espinal a little bit here and there, but I would much rather see Brian Hayes for 27 innings than see some mix of him and Santiago Espinal there, because they're going to need their best foot forward with the glove and making sure that they don't make mistakes, because the Brewers don't. We've seen that in years past. Steve, the last 3 years, and that's including the performances this year, the Reds are 9-24 against the Milwaukee Brewers. It's not just that they've played horribly against the Brewers. It's not just that the Brewers have owned them. It's so much more than that. Like, there is so much going against them in this series that they're going to have to be pesky. This is going to be a gritty series. I don't know how many home runs they're going to hit. This is going to be one of those annoying series where people are going to be counting them and they're going to be like, this is why they need more power. But that's just not going to be how they get up on this Brewers pitching staff. They are going to have to fight every single pitch, force high pitch counts, and really get them on, get them over, get them in style of baseball.
This from Willie. Littell beat the Brewers on 5-9, got a win, 6 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs.
Do that again.
That'll get it.
That'd be perfect.
That'll get it done. All right, let's dig back.
They're going to be scouting well on him. That's the one thing the Brewers do the best, that there's like no statistic on it, but you can tell the Brewers have the best scouting system in baseball.
So this from Lawrence Phillips, best thing was getting the 3 players at the deadline, right? That the deadline deals have worked out. You and I were talking before we went live that, while Nick Krall is celebrating what he's seen thus far, he really needs Zach Littell to go out there and have another really good start. Now, is it fair to use this start against the Brewers in that evaluation factor of saying, Littell, I don't know.
It is.
What lens are you looking through in judging Zach Littell in this start against the Brewers?
Give me 5 innings and make sure that the Reds are still in a position to win the ball game when you leave. I don't necessarily need him to. I don't necessarily need him to go a complete game or pitch a shutout or strike out 10 people or whatever you might see from like Hunter Greene or Nick Lodolo or even Chase Burns on a crazy day. But in his 2 starts, he was quite different. We saw those home runs and we saw the runs coming and the base runners come in a little bit more bunches than they were in the first start. And so you wondered a little bit, which Zach Littell are you going to get? But I also don't want to give him a pass. And I feel like we're wont to do that as Reds fans, where we're just like, look, the Reds are just not as good as the Brewers. And objectively, they are not. But I do not think that this gives anybody a pass in this series, because if you expect to be a playoff team and you expect to get to a division series where then you will get to host a game or 2, then you've got to beat teams like this and you've got to play well against teams like this. And so we cannot sit here and give people passes. I need to see 5 innings, keep the Reds in the ballgame.
I think Littell, as great as it was what his Reds debut looked like against the Cubs, as good as that was
the top 1%.
I think he kind of screwed himself a little bit because he set this expectation in the fan base, right? And we know how we do expectations around here. Sometimes we make them a little lofty. So I want everybody to look at Zach Littell through a fair evaluation process is what I'm saying. That's why I asked you the question, because I'm with you. 5 innings from him and the Reds are still in the ballgame. That's a successful start against this Milwaukee Brewers team. All right, let's get back into the questions and the comment section, Jeff. This has been a fun show. We are screaming right along. We're going to dive right back into the comment section right after this. Most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have a full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That is why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal financial tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes. You can see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Monarch Money helps pull together all of your spending, all of your money usage, so you can see exactly what you're doing. Get to the end of the month and you're like, where did all my money go? Monarch Money is going to help you pull all of that together. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. I made the Chase Burns comment, and there's a few people, I guess, that haven't heard my take, because someone here is asking me, where did it go? I think Greg, I'm not sure. Where did it go? Why I don't want Burns in the bullpen. I have, first of all, PTSD from the whole Aroldis Chapman thing. The Reds don't do this well. I don't trust them with this thing. I don't really want them to take this rookie that is clearly going to be very, very good and is clearly going to be a big league starting pitcher for a long time and stick him out there in that bullpen when his arm has more innings on it than it has ever had. And those are professional innings, by the way, that mean a lot more than college and amateur and high school and all the other things Chase Burns ever done. These are big time professional innings on that arm. He's in uncharted territory. And now you're going to ask him to go to the bullpen where instead of coming out and pitching 5 or 6 innings of measured, controlled, regulated pitching, he's going to come out max adrenaline, max effort every single time he touches the mound against whoever it is that he's facing. I don't like it. Now, the experts have spoken, and that is seemingly what the Reds are going to do. just note somewhere on your little index card that Steve thought this was a bad idea, and we'll see how it plays out.
Welcome to Cincinnati sports fans. We want to tell you when things are a bad idea, and we do not want to admit when things are good, because Chase Burns is good.
You know what was
Chase
good was
Burns.
not sending Matt McClain to the minors. But
Chase Burns can make the difference in the bullpen. And here's the thing, because they've said that there's an innings cap, but they're not necessarily like saying what the number is. And I think somebody speculated they like pulled it out in Nick Kroll and probably around 135. He's currently at 110 and a third. 34 and a third innings pitched in the majors, 66 in the minors. Now, Nick Kroll contends that minor league innings are not 1-for-1 in the stress that major league innings cause. Fair enough. So maybe it's around 140. If he starts and you don't move him into the bullpen, that means he's got, if you limit him to 5 innings per start, that gives him what, 6 more starts?
Mm-hmm.
You need at least 9 to get to the end of the regular season. And then there will be innings in the postseason that he could take out of the bullpen. I wouldn't have him starting, but definitely out of the bullpen, a la David Price. But if you have him start and don't move him to the pen, you're shutting him down in the middle of September. He's done. No more.
Yep.
We'll see you next year. I think that would be malpractice by this front office. I think that we have already put a lot on them by the fact that they don't address the outfield as much as Austin Hayes was an attempt to. And they got in Miguel Andujar. We'll see how that pays off in the long term. Like we said, it's a very small sample size. But if they have this option that you can bring out of the pen and throw 100 with just this break foot, break neck, break ankle, whatever you call it, slider that he's got, I think you have to do that. And I don't think that he will be stuck in the bullpen like Aroldis Chapman. Aroldis Chapman didn't make any professional starts ever anywhere he's pitched. I mean, I think he did in the minors, but not in the majors. So with that, the question that you must ask yourself is, do you trust Derek Johnson? Because if the answer is yes, then you're okay with him going.
I do, but just to your Aroldis Chapman example, Aroldis Chapman didn't stay in the bullpen because the Reds decided to keep him in the bullpen. Aroldis Chapman decided he wasn't going back in the rotation. He told them, I don't want to go back to the rotation. And
do you know? And do you know why Chase Burns, or at least one of the reasons why Chase Burns transferred from Tennessee to Wake Forest in college? Tennessee wanted to use him out of the bullpen.
Well, Jeff, it's a bad idea. But listen, it's going to play. You know what? If it works out, it works out. And that's great. I don't think the risk is worth the reward of what you're getting from him. And
both are gambles. It's not a sure thing.
I just don't want him to get hurt. And I don't like changing what he does. I don't like changing his routines. I don't like changing how he pitches in a game. I don't like changing all of the things that have worked so well so far on an arm that has 100+ innings on it already in their first rookie year. I don't like it. We'll see. I hope, Jeff, this is one of those cases, and they're very rare around here, but this is one of those cases where I hope you end up being right. I hope that he goes out there, just blows people's doors off out of the bullpen, and then drops right back in the rotation next year with no ill effects. I hope that's what happens. I'm rooting for that. I want to be wrong about this. We'll see. I want to get into a couple more of these. This from Sean Melvin, because this is a fun story, actually. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on Tejay Antone? 1 inning, 0 hits, 0 runs, a walk, and a strikeout in Daytona. Wasn't he in Daytona? Was he in Dayton?
No, he was in Dayton. He was in
Dayton a couple days ago. Okay. Here's some thoughts on Tejay Antone. I'm not counting on Tejay Antone for anything. I'm not projecting like it'll be great to have him back in the bullpen next year. It'll be great to have him do none of that. I don't care. This is what I know. This guy has battled his way back from Tommy John, not once, not twice, but 3 times, and took in a professional inning this week after 3 Tommy John surgeries. I have nothing but hope for Tejay Antone, that he achieves all of the things he is dreaming of achieving. I don't think anybody in the Reds organization can count on him to be anything or do anything from a realistic standpoint of what it's going to be like managing that arm. But I don't want his last big league inning to be the last big league inning that we saw. I want to see him back on a mound in the majors and have a successful inning. What he does after that, if he can continue to be a viable big league pitcher, I don't know. But that dude has worked so hard. He deserves at least one more day in the sun. He deserves one more big league inning at a minimum, and I really hope he gets it.
I'd love to see that. I think it's already a success. The fact that he's back on a professional mound throwing pitches and like he posted there in his pitching line was actually a rather successful inning, perfect inning with a strikeout. Because like you hear about guys that have that many surgeries and they try to come back, and then when they're on the mound, even in the minors, they get clobbered. So at least for his first appearance back, he was extremely successful. It would be a heck of a story. And that would definitely be something that I would love to see next year at some point. It does underscore to me just the amazing pitching depth that the Reds have coming back next year. And like you said, I'm not counting Tejay Antone as part of like the pitching depth. I just want to see him throw an inning next year. But like, you know, there were positive updates on Brandon Williamson and Julian Aguiar both making or having a bullpen session this weekend. I think in a couple of days they have Rhett Lauder slated to throw a bullpen session, although they have put the caveat on him that he will not pitch this year, but he'll be ready to go for next year. So you're talking about 3 starting pitchers there. One of them you could possibly move to the bullpen if you don't see them as a starter long term, whatever that might be. Like the Reds are in a very enviable position from a pitching standpoint for years to come. And I just hope that on top of that, we get the cherry of the story of the return of Tejay Antone to the
Sean Melvin's usually pretty spot on with the minor league movement stuff. And he says that TJ will probably be back in Louisville next week. And Sean says he could see him in Cincinnati this season. I could see him in September. I could, if he continues, because they don't need him. They don't need him to stretch out. They just need him to be comfortable with pitching an inning and then recovering without issues. Right. So
yeah,
I could see that happening.
He's a relief pitcher. They're not going to stretch him out to be like a starter or nothing.
Here's your buddy Scott Campbell doing the legwork for us, Jeff. The Reds for games played on Fox, FS1, Apple TV, TBS, etc. The Reds this year, so nationally broadcast games are 5-4. Take Bristol out. Yeah, let's delete Bristol from the memory banks. 5-3.
I'll take it.
All right, let's get a couple more in, Jeff. We've crossed the hour mark.
I do know this, though, Steve. They are undefeated on Sunday Night Baseball.
2 things with the ESPN hate we'll get to. Josh says, thank God MLB is ending the ESPN agreement. Didn't they circle back? Aren't they in discussions again? Did I read that wrong somewhere?
I think ESPN figured out that was like a horrible idea to just completely shun a league. Although I will say they have incrementally done their best over the years to make sure that they don't cover. I mean, they covered baseball, but they didn't cover baseball. Like Baseball Tonight hasn't been a good show in a decade.
Well, it's going to get worse because the National Football League is buying a stake in ESPN. So
Roger Goodell said they will make no narrative.
Yeah, whatever.
Management.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. And let's do this one because we didn't talk about. Let's talk about these 2 things, and then we're going to get out of here. This from Carrie. Could we have an Ohio World Series? Cleveland has come back on. I was ready to write the Guardians off, Jeff. I don't know where you were at in this, but I was like, okay, they're kind of done. They're checking out, and we'll see them again next year. But yet, they're pesky. They're sticking around.
I think, didn't they go on a 10-game losing streak at one point this year, and they're still back in it? And then also they lost their closer, for probably feels like the rest of his career, and they're still back in it. One of the best closers in the game, by the way, Emmanuel Clase. I think it's funny because I was talking with our Guardians host the other day about this, Justin, one of our Guardians hosts, and he's just I've written them off twice already this year. And so it's hilarious to see them right back in this thing. And a lot of it just has to do with the collapse of the New York Yankees. An Ohio World Series would be crazy because I think outside of this state, there would be a lot of groans, but man, this state would be on fire. It'd be fun.
Couple asks about Wade Miley, Jeff. We're not going to see Wade Miley again. Or are we?
He actually made an appearance in Double-A, I think, earlier this week. I'm surprised because I thought he was just going to be a clubhouse guy for the rest of the year. But there are some reports that he made an appearance in Double-A and that he's going to continue to work his way back. That would have to be as a bullpen guy. I don't think you put him in the rotation unless you're just looking at he pitches like once a week or once every 10 days to give somebody an off day or something. I don't know how they would manage that portion of it, but it is a bit inspiring to see. And I saw that the other day that he was pitching in Double-A and looking to work his way back.
All right. And let's end with one more. By the way, I would love to see an all Ohio World Series just from how angry it would make Rob Manfred. It would tickle my heart because that dude would be pissed off if he had to go back and forth between Cincinnati and Cleveland for a World Series.
So what would you do then? Because, there's always those jokes about like playoff games or something like that between two teams where one team is trying their best to limit the tickets purchased by fans of the opposing team. Like they couldn't do the whole thing of, well, you have to have an Ohio license to buy a ticket because, well, then that's everybody.
I am told that Ticketmaster has the ability to lock tickets by zip code on the billing address of your credit card.
Wow.
So you could
go on to Game Time, use promo code Lockdown MLB, save $20 off your first purchase.
Jesus, wow, that was good. you could realistically geo-lock the ticket sales so that use Columbus as your dividing line, basically, and everybody north of Columbus would have to buy Cleveland tickets, and everybody south of Columbus would have to buy tickets.
Let's say there's like certain parts, like probably the south of Columbus. So like if you live in like Dublin or north, you're only allowed to go to Cleveland.
And if you're in Mason, you can only buy tickets to games the Cubs are playing in, right? Like that's the
I mean, obviously, yeah. That's why they won't be there. I mean, the whole city of Mason will just be watching the World Series from the living room.
All right, we are well past 1 hour. We end with this from Branch Brown. He is grilling some Big Red Smokies for luck this weekend. It's a sacrifice he is willing to make. Branch Brown, thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for driving backwards in Bristol and picking me up when we couldn't get a ride. And thank you all for being here for this double length episode of Locked On Reds. We appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for making Locked On Reds your first listen each and every day. Go check out the Locked On MLB channel. There's 2 great shows going on in that channel. If you guys haven't caught this yet, Sully is there with a national perspective. A lot of love for the Reds he's got going on in that channel right now. Go check it out. Also, MLB Game Night, they're watching every single game, every single night, so you don't have to. They've got everybody from the Locked On Podcast Network's MLB channel participating in this good stuff. And also, if you haven't checked out the squad shows when they drop in the feed, if you just kind of been brushing past those, you're missing out. This is just baseball hosts from the Locked On Network talking ball. They're a lot of fun. Make sure you check those out as well. Until we are back in your feeds on Monday, Tim Daniel has you covered on the Reds postcast. We will keep gathering up the news, the notes, the information, the rumors, and the reports to keep you locked on Reds every single day. Couldn't see the button, could you, there with your sunglasses?
These are dark. They're really good sunglasses.
I was wondering if you could even see the screen while you had those on.
Made it easier when I didn't have to click on things earlier on the show.